People waiting. People in there. Okay, since it's 6:30, I'd like to, call the meeting to order, and, I move that we open the public hearing on the June 11th, 2024 special municipal secret ballot referendum.
Second.
Okay. So, the municipal officers of the town of Belgrade will hold a public hearing Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 6:30 at the Belgrade Town Office. And the first article that we need to discuss is, shall the town approve, or well, first we need to elect the moderator to preside at said meeting. So
No, that's for the ballot.
that's for the ballot?
Yeah.
Okay, so
You can go to Article.
Article 2, shall the town approve amendments to the town's minimum lot size ordinance, which was last amended on March 19th, 2010. And that's what we're looking for a hearing on tonight, the first part. Are there any questions on that, article?
Do we have copies available for anyone here?
I,
Don't know.
do we have copies for anyone?
I do have copies of the latest of the ordinance. We do.
Okay,
No, I didn't know if anybody in the audience wanted them. Sure. In case they have any questions.
I do.
Sure.
Sarah, would you state your name for the record?
Sure, my name is Cheryl Angett, and I have a little bit of planning board here in town. For those going to the hearing, I just want to say a few words about this voting that we're doing in June to approve the amended ordinances. So the reason why the ordinances with the minimum lot size and the multi-family dwelling unit ordinances were modified is to comply with the Maine State Mandate LD 2003. And that LD 2003, and I'm gonna read that, what is the act about? It's an act to implement the recommendations of the commission to increase housing opportunities in Maine by studying zoning, land use restrictions. That was signed into law in April 2022. And the deadline for municipalities to comply with it is July 1st of this year. So our town has taken the due diligence in complying with the law. They have modified the two ordinances that this law touches in terms of being able to comply with it. And it basically comes down to, we went through a lot of training with the DECD, and they have a wonderful presentation. And anybody that would like to have it, actually probably can post it in the website of the town, if people would like to look at it, especially realtors. The punch of the whole thing is in page 4. And I don't know if you can, if the owl can pick this. You know? See it?
We're not, for some reason, we're not able to see the
The
video.
video, okay.
But
So-
it will probably see it if you hold it up there.
So basically it's page 4 right there. There are 3 buckets of compliance. Out of the 3 buckets, we don't have to worry about bucket 1, because bucket 1 is for big municipalities where basically they have water treatment units, and they have a lot of population. They have water supply, and that's like secure and all that kind of stuff. Where we come in play, or realtors here, is in bucket 2, second bucket, which is the 30 MRS 4364A, and the same thing for the third bucket is B, right? So in the second bucket, basically we are allowing every homeowner to put up to 2 dwelling units additional in their lot. And there are, real estate restrictions to that. For the first unit that they're gonna be adding, besides already having 40,000 square feet, for the second unit, they have to come up with another 40,000 square feet. When it goes in the third, unit, which is adding this, the second one to the first one there, then the multifamily, ordinance kicks in. And then for that third unit, what it counts is the number of bedrooms in the unit. And per bedroom, you have to add 20,000 square, feet. All right, so that is for everybody in town. For lot that has a home in a lot. For lots that are vacant, you can add up to 4 dwelling units. Specifically in the growth areas in town. Now, that's the second bucket. The third bucket allows anybody that has a home to add an accessory dwelling unit. And you don't need any real estate for that. I mean, it can be your garage, you can make it a living space, your attic, you can make it a living space, but that's defined as a accessory dwelling unit. That accessory unit, dwelling unit is bound by space. It cannot be less than, 149 square feet.
174, I think.
Oh, I'm so glad I have you here.
Well, I'm
No,
not
actually,
sure.
it's minimum 190 square feet.
94.
And then the maximum is 1,008 square feet. So those are the 2 buckets. And that's how we are going to allow for more population in town if it comes this way.
Excuse me, Sarah.
Sure.
What is this you're reading from? Is this what I have, this bucket?
This bucket thing is not, it's a presentation that the DEC, did to the planning board.
Okay.
So I can have probably want to post it in the website of
Thank you.
the town.
Great.
All right. And with that,
Okay, any discussion on the second article? Okay. Seeing none, we then would go on to the third article. Shall the town approve amendments to the town's multifamily dwelling ordinance that was last amended March 17th, 1978? And, when they did went through to make this amendment, it had to affect not only single family, but also multifamily units. And as you can see, these haven't been, one wasn't updated since 2010 and the multifamily since 1978. So I believe you did a lot of redoing on that multifamily. Am I correct, Sarah?
there were, it was more of a, document upgrade. The big changes happened mostly to the minimal lot size.
Mhm.
So, the multi-family unit was changed, but not as drastically as the, minimum lot size.
And just for edification, the minimum lot size in the town of Belgrade for a single family home is 40,000 square feet,
That's right.
which is just slightly less than an acre. 0.92 of an acre, only because I looked it up today, not because I knew that off the top of my head. Any discussion on, that's, article number 3?
I had a question. We were talking about what defines an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah.
And in these cases, it's defined, it seems like by, bounding of the structure.
That's
In
right.
terms of square foot, as opposed to function,
That's right.
like, cooking facilities and, bedroom and bathroom, those
Correct.
kinds of things,
That's correct.
which I think of as primary functions. So my question is that a new interpretation of a dwelling unit, or is it just a separate definition that we hadn't seen before?
This was handed down to us by the state law.
Okay.
So the state law said that an accessory dwelling unit cannot be less than 190 square feet. And that the town can decide how big it's gonna be. So, we have 2 contractors in the board, And they say, well, you know, if somebody's gonna do that for an in-law, I would like to see it this big. So,
One picture of like a shed, the smallest size.
Right.
Yeah.
so that the other thing to consider is that an accessory dwelling unit don't need the extra 40,000 square footage. So it can be in the same lot that already, the little less of an acre that the first, unit will be located.
As long as the septic and the well can support it and there's no deed restrictions. So say when you purchased your property, so can I speak?
Go
When you
ahead.
purchased your property, like when I purchased my property, there were deed restrictions. So there were 4 lots together that were separated. And we have deed restrictions that it's 1 family home per 2.2 acre lot. So I wouldn't be able to add accessory dwelling units because I'm bound by previous deed restrictions.
That's correct.
So I know that.
So all that has to be on the easements and, the previous restriction, all that kind of stuff, yeah.
And I believe you also made some adjustments to make sure that, water and septic were addressed in our amendments.
That's correct, as a matter
Different
of,
from what the state handed down.
as,
So, as I understand it, we essentially protected the town by putting our own restrictions in, and if we did not do that, we would then have to comply with the state restrictions. I believe the state minimum dwelling lot size is 10,000 square feet.
well, I have a deal, I have a little dialogue about that this afternoon. I want to say that the law said 10,000. But right now, the law, as the law is 20
Okay,
for the state.
for the
But
state.
once this hits in July, I think it's gonna be 10. So the
Okay.
state had to shrink it down. And I might not have all my numbers right on that, but I will get back to you on that.
But essentially, the town was able to use our own minimum lot
That's right.
size if we enact this ordinance.
That's right,
If we don't, we will have to comply
with
with
the
what the
state.
state has done, whether it's the 10 or the 20.
Yeah.
Okay,
Excuse me, Sarah,
But
on the accessory dwelling unit, they don't have to be attached, is what you're telling me.
the accessory building unit can be attached, can be inside, or can be separated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
anything else? Hearing none, if there's, oh, go ahead, Peter.
Can I just say thank you, Sarah, and the planning board for taking this on short notice. I know what it's all about. And so it's a Herculean effort. Thank you very much for taking this on and for being so thoughtful going into it to surgically look at ways to address each of the revisions in each ordinance. So thank you very much for that work. Really
You're welcome.
appreciate that.
You really have, the guy that you really have to, commend is Mr. George Seal.
Yeah.
So,
It's a team. Thank you.
well, we all work on it, okay? I don't
Yeah,
know, they're probably watching me. We all work hard on it. We all work hard on it. Everybody pitched in. But Mr. Seal, you know the degree of, detail that he can get into, so.
Okay. Yes, Joy, do you want to state your name when we
Yes.
recognize you as well?
Joanne Biago, Belgrade resident, and hopefully, you could expand, if it's the appropriate time, on the bucket that involves the, addition allowance for property in designated growth areas.
So,
That bucket that's.
okay, so the only place in town where you can go up to 4 dwellings is in designated growth areas. And the way it goes is that when the third dwelling comes in, the multi-family dwelling ordinance kicks in. So when you put the third dwelling in there, for the third dwelling, you don't add 40,000 square feet. You add square footage based on the number of bedrooms in that dwelling, third dwelling. So if it's 1 bedroom, it's only 20,000 square feet. If it is 2 bedrooms, it's 2 times 20,000 square feet. in that third dwelling, you actually have 4 bedrooms, then you have to multiply 20,000 square feet times 4, which is 80 square feet. So that will be, that it will be required to be able to have those 3 dwellings in the growth
Okay.
zone.
And in the growth zone, it appears that there are 4 units allowed on unimproved land,
That's right,
up to 4 units, assuming water and, septic and things like that.
that's right.
Supported, but it's different than, we're not talking about ADUs then, we're talking about multi-family housing. Is that?
That's right. Yep. The only time we use ADUs, you allow only 1 per single family unit. And that's the only time we deal with ADUs.
Can you tell me what ADU is?
An ADU is defined as a structure that is not less than 190 square feet
Okay.
and
Accessory dwelling unit,
is an accessory dwelling unit, that's right.
just making sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Melanie?
Sarah, I'm not sure if Hans is on tonight either.
He's not.
Okay, I thought it
We're
was
giving the day off.
kind of after the fact, because I watched the meetings and I don't know why it didn't come up. But in the town of Belgrade, I thought that we were in a position now where there could not be shared septics. So with this, how would that work?
You know, that's a Hans question for sure.
Okay. Because, because I believe that we have that distinction that no longer, you can have shared, that you can't have shared septic. So if somebody builds a new structure, or if they're separated in some way, because say the original septic failed, each unit has to have their own septic. So I wonder how that.
So the little that I know, about that, and then don't take my word for it, is that if we add dwelling units, we have to determine the new capacity of septic needed. And if the septic that you have doesn't allow for that, then you have to make improvements to make that possible.
So as long as all the units are on the same lot and owned by the same individual, that one septic could be shared.
I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure.
I'll ask Hans.
Bruce?
I know on a septic private, it goes by bedrooms and, you know, so they size the septic system by bedroom. So for instance, if it's already been sized for a 3-bedroom dwelling, you can't add another dwelling with another bedroom because now you're gonna increase your septic.
But now,
size.
if an ADU is the smallest size, which is essentially the size of a shed, you wouldn't necessarily have a bedroom. Because there's no bedroom specification, correct? It's simply the size of the building.
That's right, you can put in whatever you want. I
But
guess,
it has to be used for habitation.
that's right.
So it'd be considered a
So it'd be
bedroom, but
considered a
habitation.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have a 1-room building,
It's a residence.
is it 1 bedroom
If it's. has to be-
automatically?
I don't know what happens inside, I know it's just something else.
But it, Melanie,
Yeah.
it deals with, water and wastewater on page 7 of the ordinance. So, I want, it doesn't, it says can be connected to adequate water and wastewater services. So the question is, what is adequate? And maybe that's what Hans, has the information on.
Right, well, that's what I was checking, because I know the shared septics used to be allowable in the town of Belgrade, but currently they're not. So if you are sharing a septic with additional ADUs, are we gonna have to come back and change other policies that we have that we pertain to now?
It's a good
She
question.
says, if
Sorry, I didn't think of it until
That's
now.
okay.
a private septic system proof of adequate sewages must be verified by an adequate local plumbing inspector pursuant to.
And that's Hans, the local
Yep.
plumbing inspector. So that would
Right.
be,
This is a house,
he would have a criteria for
Right.
what's adequate.
because that's a private septic system, not a public.
And the key word is adequate, right? And then we point to Hans
Yes,
to
Yeah.
determine.
yes.
Are you allowed to have like composting toilets
in these places? I mean, is that?
That's a house question.
Sounds question.
I can see why not.
I think the state of Maine is pretty strict.
Excuse me?
I think the state of Maine is pretty strict on requiring septics.
Yeah.
If somehow the state of Maine could kind of loosen up its laws and, I mean, there's so much advancement in technology. Especially in Europe when it comes to septic systems. And if we can kind of start looking into new ways of treating our systems and not relying on our septic system. Because right now, our septic systems are, as someone mentioned, according to bedroom, but most of the time we have 3 bedrooms. And we don't even have 3 people living in them. And then if you add an accessory dwelling unit, then that's gonna make it a 4-bedroom. That's gonna require a whole new septic system. And again, you're only gonna have 2 or 3 people, but it's designed for 4 people. So that's gonna be a real financial challenge, a real hurdle. And unless either the state of Maine, I don't think we can do it, but can kind of loosen their I don't know, laws or whatever, and start looking into alternative septic.
Just for the record, could you identify yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to speak. I'm a Rome resident. My name's Andy Hinckley.
Okay. Okay, is there any further discussion on this, on the public hearing? If there's none, I move, oh, excuse me, did you have something, sir?
Just like to understand,
If you could identify yourself, I'm sorry.
sure, Michael Canale, North Belgrade.
Okay.
Just want to understand the articles we're talking about voting on, are those locked now, or can other articles be introduced onto the ballot for June?
It's just these 2 plus the school board budget, correct?
Right, that's
So
separate.
That's separate. So at this point, it would just be these.
Thank you.
And I think we're past time to add anything, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mary
so
will
just-
start getting ballots ready.
Yeah. Okay. All right, if there's not anything, online? No? Okay, in that case, I move we close the public hearing.
Second,
Is there a second? All in favor? Barbara?
yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Kelly, myself, and 1 absent. So we will close the public hearing and we'll get ready to start the select board meeting. So, I'd like to call the select board to order, select board meeting on April 16th, 2024. And, first, we'd like to start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and, just so it makes it much easier for people taking minutes, if you'd wait till you're recognized by the chair, and then if you would state your name, and if you repeated your name before, if you'd repeat it again, just so we can make sure that in transcribing minutes, if we don't hear anything, we know it's there. So, we do have a quorum tonight, so there are 4 or 5 of us here, so we've established a quorum. And the next part of the meeting is public comment. So this is for anything that is not currently on the agenda tonight. If there's something that you would like to bring to the board's attention, we usually allow about 3 to 5 minutes for someone to speak. And understanding that those actions nothing would be taken on those actions tonight. If it's something that needs further investigation and so on, we would do that at a subsequent meeting. So are there any public comments tonight? No? Okay, I would just like to add as a public comment myself, the last last meeting, we had the Senior Resource Committee here, and they were doing a presentation on that following Saturday on, I think it was called End of Life Planning. And it was just, they did an excellent job, and I think we need to reward and commend people for a job well done. So, Lauren, if you on behalf of us would let, Mary Vogel and Kim Hagan did a lot of the planning. It was one of those things that we all, end of life is gonna come for all of us, and you need to make sure you plan for it. And I would just add just a quick note of my own, make sure someone knows how to get into your iPhone and they know how to get into your computer. Because if someone doesn't have that information, it's lost. So just a little tidbit I would add. Are there any other public comments? Okay, so, next, we need a review of the minutes. I move we, approve the minutes of April 2nd, 2024. Second. So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yeses and 1 absent. And then on our table, we have the minutes from we have 2 executive session minutes from April 2nd and executive session from April 10th. Do we need to approve these separately?
Yeah.
Okay, so I move we approve the minutes from April 2nd for the executive session.
A second?
Any discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
I vote yes, so 4 yes, 1 absent. And then I move we approve the minutes from executive session on April 10th.
A second?
Second. All in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so there are 4 and 1 absent. So that takes care of our minutes. And next, we have a presentation by Superintendent Carl Hartley. So welcome back.
Well, good afternoon or evening. You already did my introduction. I'm Carl Hartley. I'm the superintendent of schools for RSU 18, but I'm gonna follow the rules because. So,
Thank you.
Because you're a rule follower.
I am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, read this to everything else.
Thank you, sir.
One day, many people do want.
This.
Yeah. I've got one for myself. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Oh. With the glasses, I thought I was just gonna have to do it from memory. Okay, so I will go through these quickly, because it is, then we'll get through the budget, document. I put together this for the school board, every year. They like to know how the school district is doing. I think that's important, as we get ready to pass the budget. So the front page is the math proficiency scores, FY 23 scores. We haven't taken the FY 24 assessment yet, but we will be in the next month or two. Let's say the February timeframe, March timeframe, we get the data from last year, FY 23. I always pull the same 11 school districts. It basically took a pin on a map, put it in open main, draw a circle, and the school districts around us. There are some K-8 school districts that I exclude, and a couple of private high schools that has big K-12 districts. So these are the K-12 districts you will see on the front page. Again, I'm not going to get into it too deeply, but we were the top performing school district in Central Maine on our math assessment. If you go to the second page, you will see that we are the top performing Central Maine school district in our reading assessment. Our district is doing phenomenal. Third page does start to get into budget a little bit, just showing the cost per student. And all this data is publicly available on the DOE website. If anybody wants links, but so this is the cost per student for FY 23 last year. And all I want to show you on this is, if you combine the first 2 slides, I would say our students, our school district is doing absolutely phenomenal. and the third page shows you, we are not a wasteful district. We are spending, we're down in the lower half, but barely in the lower half, but there's not a lot of waste going on. We don't spend as much per student as most school districts. I'll also tell you, we had a superintendent's meeting last week. Our budget's up 3.4%. Nobody else was under 5 in Central Maine. The highest, I think, was 10 something. But you're seeing huge increases, and ours is, I think, once again, as it was last couple of years, one of the most reasonable budgets around. Let's see. Then the next 3 pages, and again, I'm not going to read all these things to you. You have this document, you can keep it. School safety. So I wanted to stress that what we spend our time on, it's academics and school safety. And I talked about systems of culture, just things that have happened in our district in the last couple of years. Tomorrow I'm meeting with our rep from Liberty Mutual to walk through schools and just do a safety walkthrough with an outside consultant, just because that's what we do. The next then is after school culture, student programming. We try to add different programming for our students around school safety. The one we added this year was NetSmarts. It's an internet safety protocols. It's phenomenal, new program that we've been using with kids. And it's hopefully will be effective. And then I talked about professional development for our staff, and how we deal with making sure our staff have the proper training to try to keep kids safe. So what I wanted to do with this document is, again, I will answer questions as long as you want me to stay, but so I won't spend a lot of time, but this is what we spend our time on, academics and keeping kids safe. So the questions, I'll pause before I go to the next document.
Do we have school safety officers in?
We have 3 resource officers in the district now.
They serve how many schools?
Say that again?
How many schools?
We have 8 schools.
8 schools.
Yeah. We probably spend the most time at, Messalonskee High School. There's a full-time one there. He does a little bit of time out here in Belgrade or Sydney, and then the middle school officer, Messalonskee Middle School, is probably our next highest need school. But he also spends a little bit of time up here. And then the third one, China spends probably, his time is split between the other schools. Since in time at China Middle School, China Primary, Belgrade, and Sydney. So most of our schools are senior officers at least 2 or 3 days a week. The elementary school, they really don't want them there full day. It's more of doing some programming, visibility with parents, helping with truancy issues, helping with any bullying issues or school violence issues, or sadly drug and alcohol issues when they start to go down into elementary schools. THS reports, residency issues, so there are some needs at the elementary school, but it's definitely much less than the high school. But we do love having the third officer. That has been, I think, a good pickup. Okay, budget. So the board has adopted a budget, an expenditure plan. You will see, if you look at pages 3 and 4, that's basically the summary. Our budget is presented in 11 articles: regular instruction, special education, career, MMTC, the technical center, other instruction, extracurricular. So we'll go through each article. You will see, if you look at each article, there's a little summary, and you will see that the articles, how much each article is up. Again, our budget is up 3.4%. Last couple of years, it's been up in the mid to upper 2s, low 3s. I think that's what our budget has typically been up. If you look at inflation over the last 4 or 5 years, you're seeing 7, 8, 9, 10% a year. I mean, the inflation has been, I've never calculated what it is over the last 4 years, but I will tell you our budget up is a lot less than what inflation is. Most of our, like I said, most of our articles up 2, 3, 4%. A couple of exceptions. Article 5 is up 5.2%. That is because of, Carol, exactly what you just asked about the other resource officer. We put that in last year, but we didn't fund it. It was funded through COVID money, which sort of that fiscal cliff. We've tried very, very hard in our district to avoid those, but there was a couple things the board wanted to do, so that one is up a little bit.
So
More.
that's why it went from 142 and 23 up to 249.
Correct. Yeah, it's actually, we had noted that line needed to be adjusted for a few years, and it just hadn't noted then. So we had to, a little bit more for each of the other two officers than the brand new position. And the other one that was an exception was school administration, that was up 6%. That was the second, these were the two areas that I didn't like doing this, but we put in, that we, creating that fiscal cliff where we put in a position that was COVID funded. I see a lot of school districts doing that all over the state. And sure, the paper's done articles on them there, while you see budgets up 10%, it's because they had all these new positions in during COVID. We tried to avoid that, but we did have one position, one assistant principal position that was funded by grants. So now we have picked it up in the regular budget. But the rest of the articles are all in the 2.5–3% increase. Our budget is up, it's staffing, wages, there's I'm sure, Dan, I've been following legislation today, there's a bill in front of the legislature to, raise supports, I'm sure you've heard about it on the news, raise support staff wages to 150% of minimum wage. I've heard it might go down to 133, but still, those are, when the legislature weighs in, that's just that piece of legislation alone would add $1 million to our budget over 2 years. That's, those are big numbers. So you look at staffing mandates from the state, negotiated contracts, our health insurance is up 7%, 7.25%. That's $500,000 in our district. So our budget's only up 1.4 million. It's almost all staffing and health insurance. And that's just that's the world we live in. We've tried to, again, I touched just briefly on the COVID money. We've tried to use that to, update our facilities, reduce our debt, do all these things to try to offset, what I knew was happening with inflation, what the board knew was happening with inflation, which is why I think we were able to bring in one of the lower budgets around, so at 3.4%.
Is that money all spent now?
It has to legally be by September. We do have a little more to spend this summer that, we have plans for, but yes, it has to be spent by September. After September 30th, you lose it. And I'm not gonna, I had my opinions of how much money and how it got billed out, but I ain't gonna give any back.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So Carl, when I take a look at the school resource officer, not like I'm saying this done.
No.
Position, the $249,000 divided between three people is $83,000 per person.
That is correct.
So we know our teachers don't make 83,000.
That includes their health insurance. The top of the scale teacher is about 100,000. And when you look at health insurance, mainstay retirement, so all those things, so top of the scale teacher is 100. That's what we have to plan for. If we pay them with federal money, then believe it or not, when we pay someone with federal dollars, we get a 22% penalty. But that aside, it's $100,000, because you're looking at a $75,000, person plus $20,000 for health is what they get for a health insurance benefit. And then, that's it. There's also course availability, reimbursement tuition, so it can go over 100, but that's typically what it is. But that does, that 83 per person does include health insurance. The town bills us basically for the whole cost of the people. What else can I offer you?
I have a couple questions for you.
Absolutely.
So, part of what would be helpful for me is you're showing us 23 actual, 23 budget.
Yeah.
24 budget and 25 budget.
Yeah.
But nothing on where are we year to date on our.
Yeah,
budget?
I grabbed year to date. Lorna sent me an email a couple hours ago, so I grabbed year to date. It's sort of misleading because, our budget is not, whoops, that's the wrong one. That's the one you already have. Our budget's not linear. May and June are probably our two most.
I was gonna ask you.
Is our two most expensive months. what I expect, what I can tell you. This was March, end of March. I do it every month.
Quarters, right?
Yeah, so I do it every month. Here's how I plan budget. About this board, I didn't bring enough for everybody on this one, but,
Yeah, once a year.
oh, yeah, I'll leave one for you. I have enough for you guys, I just didn't have enough for you.
Oh.
So how I try to do the expenditure plan is, I take a look at, there's a lot of, we have a $43 million budget, that's a lot of money. And I can't always predict everything that's gonna happen. Kid moves in that has special needs and, we're doing that, then I have a, fuel tank break, and then, I need a few more kids in this town, I need another bus, or I need another ed tech here, so there's so many things.
Mhm.
Tuition cost, high school, students, we have a school choice town. We're a pass-through, but I have to show those expenditures, it doesn't cost us any more for our kid in a school choice town as any other student, but if I get 7 or 8 more school choice town kids move in, that's another $150,000, $125 to the budget. So I have a lot of things I have to try to figure. What I do is I try to look at most of those and I say, all right, what would worst case scenario be for all of these things? Now, I don't use all of those, but I try to use some worst case scenario things just in case, which ends up being probably about 1%. I probably have, and I don't know how you define it. I call it smart budgeting. Some people would call it your over budget, whatever you want to call it. But I have about 1%, which for us would be about $400,000. So at the end of the year, in theory, we'd have about 1% if everything went perfect, exactly how I predicted. I usually don't make a week of that, but let's say I go a year with everything how I predicted. I'd have 1% left over. Most years it's less than that. It's closer to 250 or so thousand. During the COVID era, they gave out a lot of money. So that has this, I'll go to Sarah's buckets. You have your bucket that has to be paid out of the regular budget.
Right.
You have your bucket, because we got $14 million over these 4 years. You have that COVID budget. And then they're separate. You can't, if you're supposed to be here, you do it here. It's supposed to be here, you do it here.
Right.
But there is some overlap. There are, like I said, I'm a rule follower. I follow the rules, but when there is gray area and overlap, it will help the district. And that has allowed us to do some of those things. If I have a teacher leave, I can't hire new teachers with this and put teacher salaries. If you were a teacher at my school last year, I can't change it to COVID, but I can, if you leave and I hire Peter to come in, now I can say, oh, I have a new employee. So there is some things I can do there. Facilities, if I have to replace windows, well, that's in my regular budget, but air quality is part of COVID grant, so I could replace those. So it does create misleading numbers, and here's the issue with it. So when I say short-term money, we've had this short-term money. Short-term money is usually a year. The school gets a big grant or an award from the state or something, and we have this short-term pocket of money. You don't use short-term money for long-term financial planning, or you put the district in peril long-term, which the board has adamant we don't want to do. This short-term money has been 4 years. So, it has been awkward when people say, well, you have this money. Yes, I'm not gonna have it forever, but 4 years is the longest I've ever had any short-term money. So, but it's ending in September. So if I use actuals, if I always do budgeting, just like you're talking. I look at my actuals, I look at my budget, I try to figure out, all right, this one I spent more. Why? Do I have to budget more next year? Or was it something fluke? I spent less. Why? Did I not, like this winter, I spent less in fuel. I'm not gonna lower my fuel budget because I can't plan on plowing and the winter being next. But if I use my actuals right now to do long-term planning, instead of that $300,000 or $400,000 at 1% I'm gonna have extra, I bet we'll have $750,000, $800,000 extra at the end of the year. Because every time I have a chance to use COVID money to try to help out, then I'll take that money and put it in reserves or do something, a facilities project that's, we usually can't afford, or do something big to help the district long-term. Which is replace roofs and air quality systems and stuff. So the actuals you have them, But they are misleading, and that's always hard to say, because actuals are actuals. I mean,
Right,
they're actually by definition not misleading, they're actuals.
so this includes regular money and COVID money in your actual?
No, that is just regular budget.
This is just regular?
Yes, but you have the COVID money here sort of behind the scenes wreaking havoc with some of the numbers. It is, like I said, I get it, because I've never had that amount of money come in over a 4-year period of time.
Right,
That's a lot of money.
this is a lot of money.
But I also every year for 21, 22, 23 have to submit to the state that I'm not using COVID money to lower the budget. Doesn't mean I can't spend some in that gray area and help out the budget and create some money that we can do some good things for the district, but I can't lower it.
Right.
I have to submit that we didn't lower our FTEs and we didn't lower our budget. If we did, then we have to submit a narrative saying, wow, like, if all of a sudden I had 500 less kids, okay, yes, my FTEs would drop and I'd have some narrative, but that doesn't happen. So we have to submit that every year that we're not doing that. So it does get complicated. But we have tried to maintain the line and, with reasonable increases. We have tried to focus on what's important, keeping our kids safe and doing well academically. With that was during the pandemic and pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
Anyway, I mean, I have a couple more questions.
Sure, I'll take any.
Couple,
Yeah, Peter.
okay, I'll go. Carl, do you see the student population in the district staying roughly the same? Is it stable?
Good question. I will send, tomorrow morning, I will send you an enrollment study. I do every 3 or 4 years. It has ticked up a little bit. I think it's going to tick down. We have a couple towns that are still ticking up, but a couple towns that are ticking down a little bit more. I would say for the next 3 or 4 years stable, then there's a little drop. But I can send you the enrollment study. I have it broken down by town. And then actually I have a middle school and high school one too, but I have a K-5 for Belgrade, Rome, Sydney, China.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll send that tomorrow, but it is going to tick down over time. Like I said, the last few years, we ticked up a little, we're down a little, up a little, but I'm gonna see it start going back down a little bit again. We have a couple of towns, like I said, that are going up, but
Thank you very much.
not a problem.
Okay.
Write myself a note just so I don't forget.
Oh, Melanie?
Carl, can you go on page 6, the expense plan category? And just kind of go over the property and equipment line.
Yeah, hold on a second. Page 6. Page 6, property and equipment.
What are we looking at for that? 'Cause I know.
Okay, that one is up $44,000.
And how are we doing generating income from the athletic fields that will be done in?
Athletic field doesn't get, none of them get a lot of income. We use it so much. Look like in the spring is probably what we generate the most, just because there's some fields that are so radiant wet, but it's not a lot. I can get you an exact dollar, but it's probably less than a couple $1,000s.
Okay, because I knew when we were doing all of that reconstruction with that, that was the anticipation, and that's what was presented, we were gonna generate revenue from.
Yeah, I heard that too. I didn't, I heard that. I heard donations. I stood right here in Belgrade at a select board meeting. I think you still have a recording of it. I told the town, so every select board I do, plan on paying back every cent of this bond. You don't take out a bond unless you plan on paying it. We did, the donations were, I would say, minimal, and the revenue has not been. So, I was quite adamant on that we need to plan on, if you take out a $14 million bond, you're gonna probably pay back a $14 million bond.
And the pickleball courts are gonna be rented, like what's the plan there?
The high school, we don't rent those out. They're pretty much open. They're used quite a bit, but they're not rented per se. I don't think we've rented those at all yet. And I will have to follow up with you exactly what, I'm trying to remember exactly what that equipment, property and equipment line is. It's part of our maintenance. Just see if there's anything here that jumps out at me as a reminder. It's part of our Article 9 facilities costs.
Yeah,
Melanie.
we're doubling our budget this year.
What's that?
We're doubling our budget in that line,
In what line?
on that equipment from 32,600 and 24 to 70, almost 77,000, 25. Something.
Yeah, we spent $130,000 in FY '23. I will follow up with you. I will send you an email tomorrow.
Okay.
I just don't remember off the top of my head.
And the athletics and the field trips, that's another one that is.
Athletics, that one I can tell you, I do remember that one specifically. Our athletic field trips have never been funded properly. I think they used to be funded through grants and stuff like that. Those have not been funded for years, to the tune of like $60,000, $70,000 underfunded. So we didn't put it all in this year. I think we were up 45,000 in that area, I want to say. So we're going to try to do that over 2 or 3 years, to try to get those funded properly.
So that's more athletic field trips. Field trips.
Yeah, athletic field, it's all field trips, but athletic field trips are definitely the lion's share of the trips.
How come?
What's that?
How come there's not more of a split between a focus on athletic field trips and a focus on general? I mean, getting the kids out of school and doing other things. I was thinking the Boston Science Museum, things that they always bring up and that they always remember. And
Yeah.
then when we cut back on that, and we're cutting back on this.
No, we haven't cut back on that at all. Well, we did during the pandemic, but those are back. Some of those things we can get, those are pretty easy to get grants for. There's several of those. I would say there's very few to zero field trips that are denied because of funding requests.
And that's for like band, people, music too? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Check that.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Looking at the test scores,
Yeah,
which are highest of the group
yeah.
of districts that you compared to, and where we stand in terms of cost, do you see that that's a ratio that's going to be able to continue? I mean, it seems to me that that might be a challenge going forward, is
To stay the top in the area?
to stay the top in the area and keep the costs so much lower.
I would say, well, some of it I would say is a culture, I think, we have. Some of it is finding efficiencies and trying to find best ways. We have
I
spent
guess
our,
that's my question.
we have spent our money on elementary interventions. And that makes a difference. If kids don't know how to read by the time they're in 3rd grade, 2nd, 3rd grade, they're going to struggle as they go forward in grades. You're gonna spend twice as much on interventions, older grades. You're gonna spend more in dropout prevention. You're gonna spend more in discipline, because education is the secret to getting out of poverty. So we spend our money wisely in the early elementary grades. We have smaller class sizes. We try to aim for 15 to 17 per classroom at the K2 grades. Once in a while, when you have 36 kids, it's hard, because if you go with 3 teachers, you go to 12 and, or 18. So we'll go to 18, maybe give some ed tech support if we have to. But we spend the money there. We put a full-time social worker at every elementary school. We used to have only a couple days a week. We try to address the issues we can at the early grades, and I think it's made a difference. I share any success we have with every other superintendent, every other school district. I would not be surprised. I would be happy if everybody came up to that level. But that is how we have done it, I believe. I applaud our staff. They work tirelessly. They really do. And I think that's why we're doing so well. I think it's the board has been unbelievably supportive of extracurriculars. I mean, it's hard when you hit the middle school and high school level. It's hard. You can't find something to do in our schools. It's not because there isn't something available.
Thank you.
No problem. You're a very good question. Peter?
One last.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm recalling people.
No, that's
Your
good.
job. Your job.
Me, Mr. Gardner. So,
Peter, chalkboard. I think I feel about the unit, sir.
So, yeah, I was thinking about the biggest challenges you might see in the coming year or two, if you've identified what they might be, and then, if that's something on the radar, and if so, how might that fit into future budgeting, for you?
Yeah, So the challenges we're facing are just more and more, students, coming to us with trauma of some sort, from homelessness to poverty to, and I say split families, but split families don't have to be problematic, but families with, a lot of trauma within the family unit. Drugs and alcohol have played a huge factor, in the community. Drugs is just a lot of cheap drugs that are wreaking havoc with our kids, and our families. So those things are the ones those are probably our biggest challenges. Financial challenges are, like, we received $500,000 less in state subsidy this year than we did last year. Those are, that's a financial challenge when this, our town valuations go up fast. And, in the state's opinion, and there's no one person that's the state, but as the state as a whole's opinion is if our valuation's going up more than the state's, then we must be able to afford more money. So that's a challenge of how do you counteract that when, not everybody has more money. We get less in, less in grants, free and reduced lunch rate we used to be a 50% receiver in a lot of our schools. Now we're down under 30 in almost all schools. Federal money, Title I interventionists. We talk about interventions that we try to do. We're losing hundreds of thousands of title money for interventions every year. So we have to decide how we're gonna do that. We're doing some shift from teachers to ed techs for interventions, trying to find other ways to do interventions. But those are some of our challenges to how do we, some of those services that have been funded through those types of programs that are disappearing. And the answer is, well, your taxpayers will just have to pick those up. We'll pay for it. I constantly hear from this, from the state, we'll pay for it for the first year. Oh. Thanks. Just don't put that in.
Okay, so, 2 or 3 questions.
Sure.
One, last year, it looks like, if I can subtract right, that, or fiscal year 23, we were about $1.1 million over. We budgeted $1 million more, $1.1 million more than we spent than our actual.
I would disagree with that statement.
Well, I'm looking at your actual in the budget, and when I subtract the numbers.
We ended up with $1.1 million that was in our regular budget that was unspent.
Okay, all right, that,
I would say $600,000 to $700,000 was due to grants that are one-time things. We probably had, if you back that out, I would say we were probably pretty close to our 1%, maybe a little higher. Last year we've had a couple of good years in a row, with, like, insurance came in late last year, but it was a tick lower than what we budgeted. So there was a little bit there, close to probably almost 100, maybe 75,000. So there was a couple of factors that came in. So probably maybe 5 to 6 was due to COVID.
so where'd that money go? Or what,
It goes-
where's that money?
Yeah, no, good question. So that's regular budget money that is left over. Whatever the reason, that's regular budget money. By statute, that money goes to fund balance unless the board or the taxpayers have voted to do something else with the money. Now, we have added to our facilities reserve funds. So we did add that, and the taxpayers voted to do that.
Mhm.
So that was something that was probably one of the biggest things we did. The rest went to fund balance as it by law has to.
Which is essentially the same as our undesignated. fund.
It's our undesignated fund.
We pull from that to offset.
We pull like this coming year, I'm pulling $500,000 to lower taxes from our undesignated fund balance.
And what's the balance in that undesignated fund?
We're about 8%, so 3 point something million. We're allowed to have 9. I'd like to get to 9. I'd like it to be higher, but right now the cap by statute is 9%.
And then, how are we as far as, I know every year I think I ask the question, where are we at with asbestos removal? And
With the what?
with the asbestos removal and all the things that have been on the radar for the last 10 or 15 years,
Yeah.
are we getting them done?
Oh, yeah, everything's gonna be done, all that stuff's gonna be done.
Like a finite point, like we're not gonna have any more asbestos in the buildings, period.
Correct.
Because.
I'm trying to think if we have any asbestos left in the district. There was a couple of places, I remember you asked last year,
China had some, I think, so was.
Yeah, I think that might be gone. It was in the main office. The central office actually has, I think, in by the elevator is, but it's minimal. We have an asbestos plan, and that's managed. Any place we have an asbestos is inspected very regularly.
Well, what's our plan? I mean, I feel like 15 years ago, the plan was we're gonna eradicate this.
We've eradicated everything out of anything that is frayed or dangerous in any way, shape or form. We fall, I just bring in experts and tell them, what do I do with this? I think around the elevator, there's a little hesitation to do that because, but I will we do an updated plan every year. I'll send that over too.
I mean, I'd just like to finally see that be done. Have all the buildings be as safe as they can be.
Couldn't agree more.
All the time.
Yeah.
You know,
One other question,
Sure.
on behalf of the pickleballers,
On the pickleballers, is that a real group?
no, that's a general category.
Yeah.
I do know that, I believe I'm correct that in Oakland, there are 6 or 8 new pickleball courts. 6 pickleball
I think
courts?
6.
Is it 6?
Isn't that awful? Does anybody know?
And I know, there's some in China,
There's 4 in China.
4 in China. And what about the other schools? Are they,
We do pickleball courts, that was middle school and high schools. We do, so all of our middle schools and high schools have pickleball courts. The elementary kids don't play pickleball. So I'm not going to spend district money on elementary pickleball courts.
I mean, I don't know if I don't have elementary kids. It's a question that I've been asked is how come in the district, school money has been spent for pickle, and I understand they're athletic, I get that.
Yeah,
And my question is, I don't know. So.
they're,
I'll ask.
they were built for the middle and high school students.
Okay,
So we built them at the middle and high schools.
okay,
Simple.
okay. That answers the question. Anyone else have any questions?
And of course, the town people do love it. I mean, I do
was gonna say,
understand that.
Not restricted just to those.
No, and I do understand that, and, like, I was at the high school today, meeting someone, and the courts were full.
Mhm.
And, when people from all the towns, plus I knew one person from Fairfield, so, they're open and they get a ton of use, from residents from all 5 of our communities.
Isn't pickleball like an Olympic sport, like?
Everything else is nowadays.
Yeah.
Break dancing is this year.
Oh, my God.
Can't make that up. Break dancing is Olympic sport this year, first time.
Yeah, I've seen the people doing it. I'm not doing it.
I could get down, but I don't even look it up.
You know, what's to get back up?
The move to get down, you would think was a break dance move. The route, that would be the idea.
Anyone else?
So I guess, Mr. Gunn, in terms of the pickleball things, I just happened to start playing pickleball recently. And, I guess the sound for the.
I see a board pickleball competition.
I don't know about that, but I will tell you that since we have these pickleball courts now, I suspect that in the future of the district, there's gonna be a pickleball team. Varsity team.
You think pickleball would become a varsity sport, NBA varsity sport?
I think it should. And
Interesting.
then, so the concept then, going from that, because that would be nice use for those pickleball courts in Oakland. It means that then we have to fill the pipeline in the elementary school. So by the time they go to the middle school and the high school, we have champions in the state.
I can see what's going somewhere. I just got to get there.
Okay?
Other districts that all have pickleball?
I don't know of any.
Or is, yeah.
I don't know if I don't know of anybody that has it as a high school sport. It's probably a club.
Pickleball?
That's where we start, everything start with a club, isn't it?
Yeah.
We start with a club, and then we have some pickleball here in Boston, we get.
We start having
elementary
kindergartners that play pickleball. We're gonna try a steroid test.
Small net.
Yes, go ahead.
So Carl, this is something that for years and years I've said, I really honestly wish we did this stuff. We tried years ago, we used to have more of like an after-school program where the kids could try different activities. Parents came in and sometimes teachers from other schools, and one of the things we tried to start at Belgrade Central School was the middle school, Spanish teacher was gonna come down to the elementary school and run like a 6-week program after school for the kids. Because if you can teach a kid a new language in elementary school, they have it for life. And I think we've missed that niche in our district where we don't offer second languages for study until they're in the upper grades. And I wonder if that's something that we can put on our radar,
That's interesting.
because. I
Little
think
kids, you
They're
know,
sponges.
yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
you know, if you grew up in another country, you learn Spanish just like that, and, you know, and when you're young.
Right.
Living in high school is absolutely hard. I never heard that, you know, that it was a
I
plan.
said, you know, we could do something with a computer lab at school, and they could be running through a computer program and have like.
Or maybe high school students could come down. I mean, Spanish 3 kids, Spanish 4 kids could teach, you know, there's what is it called? Conversational Spanish, you know, something, you know, one of those, just an exposure program.
Yep, exactly.
And we have Spanish at the middle school, so it would be a continuing. I actually don't think that's a bad idea.
So we have tried to start it, and then. I don't know,
Does
I think
the-
she ended up getting sick, and then we were.
Did they try to start it at the, Center for All Seasons, or?
No, this was directly through Belgrade Central School, so my oldest is 32, so this was when she was at Belgrade, as they really had some great after-school programs, the kids could try out jewelry making, or they might be able to try out pottery, or they might be able to try out volleyball. But families, the parents came in, or teachers came in, and it was an extracurricular opportunity that the kids had.
Do you know what happened to the program?
It just sort of petered out. You know, I think the involvement from outsiders.
But the PTO must have run that.
I see
So
a
PTOs?
volunteer position coming available, Sarah.
What was that?
I see a volunteer position coming available.
Spanish.
Oh, okay, huh?
Unfortunately, I cannot do that.
Let's see 'em.
Because of the, school board, I cannot.
I have a question. I have a question.
Just so you know, they were popular, we did a running one, cross-country type one, and I think at Belgrade, they called it the 100-mile club, where they, you know, they try to walk after school, and then they did, believe it or not, a musical one, they did ukuleles, you know, and it was extremely popular, and they were both very, very popular.
Yeah, so I think something like that, but I've always said we missed the boat on having second languages offered in the elementary school.
And I happen to have a friend who's a PhD in linguistics, and she claims that a child from 2 years old to 6, if they are in a community that's 20 languages spoken, they will pick the 20 languages.
We have a question from Paul.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so Paul Neto, I live on the West Road. And I have a question, in regards to expenses. So I'm general manager for Augusta Fuel. And I'm
Yep.
very familiar with budgets, and I commend you on dealing with the budget that you're dealing with based on the size of your budget. But in terms of expenses, based on what you reported and what the actual numbers are, what's the difference and how much money was used in cutting your expenses from COVID or other grants?
Okay, so like this year, I would say, Paul, probably it's gonna, what is used from COVID and other grants is probably gonna dip into the range of, by the end of the year, $500,000 to $600,000.
And what does that represent in terms of percentage? I mean,
Well-
I know you reported great numbers, but I wanna make sure where these funds are gonna be non-available after September. We have a clear picture of what we can expect next year.
Yeah, so that amount of money is a little over, well, about 400 to 425, 430,000 is a percent of our budget. You know, so that's as far as the percentage goes. Of that money, Paul, we have tried extremely hard not to do, not to do what you're warning us about. To not create these fiscal cliffs that we use COVID money or other grants, to pay for stuff, and then next year we end up with that's how you're seeing, Portland High School Portland School District with a $10 million, or whatever the number is, that may not be right, but it was a huge amount of money that they had to cut.
Right.
And some local schools, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but, some local schools with 8, 9, 10% increases is unfortunately when you use one-time funds. And so Paul, so that's what we have not done. That's what we've spent that money. So we've taken that $500,000 or $600,000 this year. I plan on taking that and using it on facilities, on air quality projects, et cetera. So those are and that will help us so that we don't have to take out debt, which only lowers the budget a little bit, but it'll lower it for 20 years because you don't have to take out a bond. So that's what we're doing with the money to make sure that next year the town doesn't see a huge increase.
And how are we monitoring this in terms of our expenses? Is it our department heads looking at their own departments in terms of expenses? Is it a collaborated group effort? How is that being handled? And the reason why I'm asking this is your numbers are phenomenal. I mean, I commend you on doing such a great job in monitoring and cutting all your expenses. But at the same time, it would be great to reassure the town that it's constantly being done on a regular basis, which I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Just to ensure that we're keeping our expenses at a very minimal every quarter.
Yeah, so monthly, my administrative team reviews their budgets, their building-based budgets or department budgets, if it's one of my directors, special ed director, maintenance director, or each building principal. They review their budgets monthly to look at expenditures, to look at things that they fear might go over, where they might have under, where they could buy ahead so that we can, be prepared for next year. So that's a monthly occurrence. The school board reviews budgets, my administrative team reviews budget, my finance director in particular reviews budgets monthly as well. And then any questions he has, he sends to the corresponding principal or director for their, to double review. So yes, that stuff is done constantly.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much.
No problem. And Paul, I don't know if we've met or not, but again, if you ever have any questions, never feel free about, give me a call, come to the central office. I'm happy to meet anytime and go over any of this.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you very
Thank you,
much for
Carol.
coming and spending the
Oh,
time.
this is easy.
And you've now learned a new noun, a pickleball.
What's that?
We're gonna do a governance meeting this year.
I sent that out to, what do you mean a governance meeting? What
We
do you,
usually do the meeting at the.
the PAC?
Yep.
Yeah, so September, May
No,
6th.
not the PAC, when all those towns come together at, used to be in middle school, sometimes high school. But kind of essentially what we did tonight, so that if folks have questions that come up after.
I sent out a survey to the 5 towns and only 2 towns requested a meeting. So the other 3 towns said they didn't want to do it. They would rather we just do these and things. So 3 out of those, so it was a.
I don't know that we had the option. Did we see that?
We did request.
So Belgrade was
Meeting
one
of
of
the
one of the 2 that said, yeah, we would do that. Actually, Lorna said do that and this. So this I could do.
For both.
It's a nice story.
Yeah.
Because with all the communities that have a stake in the Irish.
Yeah. The board was split, the communities are split. I said, I'm happy to do, that anytime, but that's why we did not do it this year. Thank you all very much. Very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a good night.
Have a good vacation, Bob. Have a good night. Hey, well, how's everybody? Have a good summer.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Rosie. Thanks.
Thank you guys for coming.
Okay. All right, I move we open unfinished business. Okay, first thing up is facilities maintenance, Corey. I assume it's Corey.
He's not on, he was sick today. Let me look. He is not on, Phil is on, Bruce is here. And I also attended that meeting, Bruce, maybe Bruce could speak, or Phil is on.
Which one of you gentlemen would like to speak?
If Phil wants to speak, he can, or I can, it doesn't matter.
Is this gonna come out of
Okay.
facilities maintenance or cemetery?
That would be.
This is facilities, the mower purchase request. Bruce, why don't you go ahead?
So, we had a meeting, last Thursday, and we discussed and we went over all the, bids that were given for the, mowers, and so we made a decision to, recommend to the board to purchase the Walker from M&B, and purchase a Bobcat from Jordan Equipment, I guess.
So,
I mean, I guess the reason we chose the Walker, it has a hydraulic lift. So, as of right now, like all the grass clippings, we manually have to dump the grass clippings out. And they have to handle it 2 or 3 times that way. This way here, they'll be able to dump it into the dump body
yeah,
and then go up and dump it in the compost. And that was my sale on the Bobcat. The Bobcat has a bagger, which has a hydraulic dump also, or electric dump. It has a, it's not a manual dump, it's either a electric or hydraulic dump. So we're not manually doing that stuff, stuff is heavy, it causes more work, so, the more we can do to make it easier for the employees, so we have less stress of chances of getting injuries, I think is, a plus for us to do.
okay,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
So if this is a facilities maintenance mower purchase request, the entire amount looks to be coming out of the cemetery. Why is it not split between the two budgets if it's going to be shared?
The reserve account for cemeteries, we added money this year in this budget for the replacement of the mowers. Even though it's facilities maintenance who is performing most of the work, they use it for all facilities, not just cemeteries. But it was budgeted, the cemetery committee requested those funds be put into the reserve for the purchase. I think we had intended to replace 2 walkers, but because of the cost, that wasn't possible. But as you can see, we'll try to do that next year. We'll replace another walker.
And just one other thing is on that cap reserve, I'm just one person, but I think it should be worded so it's more clear, to everybody, cemetery / facility maintenance capital reserve, equipment capital reserve, that way it's more clerical to everyone.
Yeah, because this one.
I think that was a
It's like
mistake
one
on all
department
of
is
us.
purchasing it for another department, and if it's gonna be shared between the two, who's sharing the cost would be.
Right, I think it's just a clerical something, but I know it has to go through the voters, but I think just something clerical.
I think we'll look to correct that maybe next year in the budget.
I'll add that to my fiscal year 25. I've got a list going.
Okay, so I move we purchase the Walker from M&B Tractor and Equipment at a cost of $22,645.
So,
And,
and,
okay, I was gonna try to do them together. Oh, 2 different purchases. Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yep.
Melanie?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, 4 yes and 1 absent. And then I move we purchase the 0-turn mower, the Bobcat, at $13,110.20.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so it'll be 4 yeses and, 1 absent. And just to note for the record, that leaves a balance of $8,949.80. Okay, the next item is the carbon cashback letter for review and approval. The carbon cashback was, Article 8 that was passed at the town meeting. And, that letter, has been drafted. And, do I need to read that into the record?
You can if you like, the bulk of it is exactly the same, wording from the article. We did, Bonnie's on Zoom, she sent over a template, for a letter, so I used her template. We added in the number of yes votes, no votes, the blanks, and then, the total of all who voted out of how many registered voters the town of Belgrade has, and included in that is that list of elected officials.
Yeah. Yeah. So the end of the letter says, and as such, we, the select board of the town of Belgrade, do set our hands to transmit this said record the 16th day of April. So, I
just have a question. Is it standard that we, send this to Shelley Pingree, even though we're in District 2?
Bonnie, yeah, there she is. Can you unmute, Bonnie? Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
There you
Yes.
go.
Yeah, I just noticed that myself, and well, I don't think I included that on the list of addresses that I sent originally. I would assume it would go to our District 2
Right.
representative and King and Collins and the others on the list, but not Pingree. It wouldn't hurt anything, but that's not necessary.
Right. So I move we send the, letter to, the people that are listed, the White House, Governor Janet Mills, Senator Susan Collins, Senator Angus King, Congressman Jared Golden, Senator Matt Kulyok, and House Representative Dan Newman.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and 1 absent, so it'll be 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Good job, Bonnie. Took a couple of years.
Yeah, and thanks for all the help. I've learned a lot through this process. Appreciate all of your assistance.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Take care.
Okay, the next order of business is the, grant letter of support for Belgrade Fire and Rescue. Lorna, do you want to?
So we met, the building, committee met last week.
Yeah.
They have all run together, I'm sorry, last
Yeah,
week, right?
it's
It was, I think it was last week. And went over the grant application. We all took sections to work on, the committee, or Dan McKenzie, our program chief, was going to work on securing letters of support from different people and entities. Barbara agreed to help draft a letter for the Board of Select Persons. And there's been some input from both Dan McKenzie and Travis Burton, our fire and rescue chiefs. The only thing I see here is, Barbara mentioned this earlier, the closing sentence piece, but this is a good draft that you all can accept, approve, and we'll go with that, or if you want to make any changes. I'm hoping to have something finalized, maybe by Monday or Tuesday, because we've got to submit this application no later than Wednesday evening. So I'd actually like to have everything ready prior to that. Yeah, we have training on Wednesday, so.
Appreciate it,
Yeah.
all that, because
Yeah.
we're meeting again tomorrow night, so we're working very, very hard on this grant as well.
I think it's coming together though.
Yeah,
I
it
see
is.
that it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a couple of edits. I don't know that we want to agonize over them
You
now,
can forward.
but I can just send it to you and then we can
Sure.
just send it out and get it done in the next couple of days.
Yes,
Okay, so,
yeah.
Any discussion on the grant letter?
No.
So if it needs to be, if we need to approve this before the 24th,
Approve with amendments.
They're just grammatical,
sorry?
are they just grammatical edits?
Yeah, well, and there's the last paragraph, the year-round population of Belgrade needs to have some kind of, I just added another sentence to that saying the central location would allow a quicker response time to all emergencies. Just because that sentence didn't really, was just sort of, that paragraph didn't really have a topic sentence in it.
And then are there other substantive edits or? are they-
The only other one was, in the third paragraph, the current, doesn't need a capital C.
Right, yeah.
Depot station, the current depot station, which this, and I would say new station would replace, is extremely cramped for space, and then I would add a sentence that says the new station would resolve these issues, because then we
Yeah.
list a couple of problems, but it'd be good to have just a little conclusion on that.
Mhm.
So that's all.
That's it, okay.
But the only, I know that, I've seen a couple of other letters, and the reason I said closing sentence was because I couldn't come up with one at the time, and I knew the committee wanted to do it. But I just thought that we could say something like, thank you for giving this project consideration. We, the members of the select board, endorse this, fully endorse this for funding, or something like that. Because I think it was maybe Tim Pei who,
Tim's letter was freaking awesome.
yeah, his letter
Yeah,
was
it was
great.
good letter.
That was really, really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, you
wasn't
did a
it?
very good job right now.
yeah.
I read it out loud when I got it at home because I'm like, this is a great letter.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, maybe the line that we have at the bottom of the Delta one, for all these reasons, the board of select persons hold hazardous and places request for funding to preserve the viability of Belgrade Fire and Rescue.
Oh, we could do that.
Yeah, we could just take that.
Just take that
Right,
sentence.
right,
The
that's
town of Belgrade, yeah.
right.
That's a great closing sentence.
And I guess I wonder, do we send a letter of support for Delta, even though they're competing for the same grant that the town?
Well, they're
is?
going through different
They've
sectors, so.
changed it though. They're going just for ambulance replacement.
Okay.
You saw that. think I forwarded it out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen so many emails.
I know, my gosh, right?
So many changes.
Yeah.
So are we comfortable approving this letter so it can, we should approve it tonight because we won't meet again before it
Right.
needs to
Right,
go.
but we won't be able to sign it, or you're gonna sign on our behalf.
Yeah, I sign on your behalf, so. Okay,
I feel comfortable with approving this with these edits that we've talked about tonight. And just thank you very much, Barbara.
Okay, so you would sign it, but the names of all 5 select people would be listed. If we say, we, the members of the board of select persons, we don't have to be listed even if we don't sign,
Right.
right.
but we could sign.
So if you look at the
sign.
Delta one on behalf of the Board of Select Persons, Carol Johnson, Chair.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Whatever. Yeah,
And that way you only have to have one
one
person
signature, we can get it typed up. and
sign,
out.
yeah,
yeah.
if that's agreeable.
It is to me.
Okay, so all in favor of approving the letter to Senator Collins as amended? Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Did anyone second that? The motion?
I don't know.
Thank you.
I think
Sarah.
mine was probably the motion, I suppose.
Thank you.
Okay,
Although I didn't actually say I moved to, but we were
So
talking
Peter
about it in that
motion
way.
and who seconded?
I second
exactly, okay,
Okay, let's go with that.
all right. And do we want, I know Delta's sort of jumping ahead, do we want to do Delta right now? Since we're talking about letters?
Yep.
Might as well, I mean, it's related.
So motion to approve the letter of support for the Delta Women's grant request.
And there are a couple edits in here that actually I did today, and I crossed through and put in red what I changed. Most of it's grammar, just so the sentence reads better. We still need meaningful assistance to see the project to completion. That, I think, was when we were building the building. So I'd say we still need meaningful assistance to remain viable, would be the cross there. And,
Which paragraph?
right here, where it says
Oh,
remain
okay.
viable,
Remain
it's
viable.
just changing. We're not gonna see a project to completion. We're gonna buy the ambulances. And then, without Delta, it said all town, which we needed an S. I'd say each town would have to invest in an ambulance. So that's, and then a little further, I just changed the grammar. Cost $1 million a year per town and would still only allow one ambulance to be set up. So if the ambulance is on a call and a second call comes in, the rest of that's the same wording that was there that we saw before. And then at the end, we keep saying, considering they have increased calls, I would say they have increased call, just little minor changes. And then we have a closing sentence and we're ready to go.
Looks good.
Okay,
So. Have
We
had a
have a
motion?
motion.
we have not had, a
Melanie put a motion.
oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have a second.
So I'll second.
Okay, so Melanie and I, any discussion? All in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes,
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yeses and 1 absent.
thank you for the edits.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to do it and change it and show it. and
Yeah.
I'm not good at that, so. Okay, I move we open new business.
Second.
Okay, and we now come up to, committee appointments and resignations and so on. So appointments, do we have Lois?
Lois is actually a reappointment.
Right, she didn't indicate that on her,
Oh, okay.
on her application, but she, as Mary said that, afterward, that she was a
She's
reappointment.
reappointed,
Might,
okay.
might I also say, I received a message from, Mike Hano today, and he has asked to withdraw his application for the comprehensive plan committee.
Okay,
He just has too many other commitments. So
Okay.
regretfully, he asked to pull his name.
darn. Okay, so first, under new appointments, I move we reappoint Lois Hazlett to the Senior Resources Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. 4 yeses and 1 absent. And Michael Ashland? Michael's here, okay. So, I move that we appoint, Michael Ashland to the Senior Resources Committee.
I'll second that.
And Michael, do you want to just tell us a little bit about why you'd like to be on that committee?
I was approached by, Mary Vogel. They're trying to reinstate, game day in North Belgrade,
I heard that.
and I volunteered to do that because that's my thing.
Good thing, yeah.
So that's the reason I'm certainly interested in some of the other businesses they're gonna partake in. So I would like to be part of the committee, and I intend to run the game day in North Belgrade if that works out.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Thank you for volunteering to do that, because we are always looking for good volunteers to help make things better. So any discussion?
I'd like to know when that will be.
When?
Yeah.
At the moment, it is scheduled for the first Wednesday in April, and it'll be every Wednesday after that, assuming the facility is available. And I understand that's a question mark in some cases.
Is it during the day or is it?
It'll be, right at the moment, we're planning on 10 to 3,
Oh,
Dang it.
okay? But my intention the first day is just to find out what people are looking for, what they want. If no one's gonna be in the afternoon,
Maybe we have
or
cribbage
no one's
night.
gonna be in the morning, or whatever. And, you know, and also what kind of games they're interested in.
Well, I think you have one person for evening games, right?
Yeah, I would be interested, but, you know,
Evening is stuff. And
yeah,
if you wanna do an evening game, you should contact me directly, because I do a lot of gaming.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and, thank you, Michael, and you'll need to stop by and see Mary to get sworn in onto the committee.
I go to see Mary to see get sworn in.
Yeah.
I also understand I had to kind of coordinate through, the Center for All Seasons staff also.
Yes, you would be, because their overview on that, yeah. Do you know Dan McGlashan? Do you have his number?
Yeah, I'm there, well, not every week, almost every week.
Okay, so you know, okay. Okay, so we've done Lois and Michael, Matt Elliott,
Here, it's not on.
he's not here. Or he's a new appointment, I move we table his, appointment until such time as he's able to be available.
Second?
All in favor, Melanie? Peter?
Yes.
Bruce has a question.
Oh, Bruce?
Okay, go ahead and do your vote, it's just like,
Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. 4 yes, 1 0.
so kind of it's a two-part question, I guess.
Okay,
How soon do we have to have the trustees for the water system, and do we have any others that step forward yet?
We have one who's already been appointed.
Okay,
We don't even have anything back from the state yet for the design. I know.
Yeah, Mike
The state-
Sherrison said that he would consider it. That's the one that I given him, but we didn't have, we need their home phone number, Mike and Karen Shiraz. He's worked for the Augusta Utility District for 3 decades, I think.
He's a gentleman that lives on the end of the road where
Yeah.
I've already, I
Yeah, over
contacted him
process.
last year.
Cause I saw him a couple months ago.
Never
He said he was-
responded.
He's not tech savvy, so you kind of have to go through Karen. I would reach out again, because he did say that he would consider it. He didn't want to be part of the planning.
Yeah.
But that he was
he willing to make
getting
sure.
to be considering.
I just didn't know if this was gonna hold us up if we didn't have trustees.
No, not
And
at
we only need 3.
right.
Okay,
I just, you done with me?
but yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Once you come, Mike, you have to stay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know, that's why I asked the question. I didn't see any chains on the floor, so I thought it'd be.
Okay,
Good night, folks.
all right, you too. Okay, reappointments. I move we reappoint Kim Hagan to the Senior Resources Committee.
Okay, yeah. Second,
Any discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, that's 4 yeses and, 1 absent. And then, we have a resignation, from Michael Barrett. Dear Mary, it is with regret that I notify you of my immediate resignation from the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee. Time is catching up with me. The effort needed to do proper service to the town becomes more difficult. I would appreciate it if you would distribute this letter to the select board. Sincerely, Michael Barrett.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept Michael's resignation from the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee and letter of appreciation, certificate of participation.
Okay,
Second?
second. Okay, any discussion? Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie? And I'll vote yes, so 4 yes and 0. And would you take care of the rest of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can all sign the certificate too.
Yeah, I'll have it ready, we'll have it ready for your next meeting, May 7th.
Okay.
It's a long way away.
We can put it on the calendar.
Okay.
Okay, and then, the next item under annual appointments, per main statute, under the town manager plan of government, authority is given to the town manager to appoint town officials, except members of boards, commissions, committees, and single assessors. And item 6 says appoint town officials unless otherwise provided by town ordinance. The town manager shall appoint, supervise, and control all town officials whom the municipal officers are required by law to appoint accept members of boards, commissions, committees, and single assessors, and appoint and supervise all other officials, subordinates, and assistants, except that this town manager may delegate this authority to a department head and report all appointments to the select board. So, here are the list of the people that have been, appointed.
We should read those in.
Should read those in.
Yeah.
Okay, the E911 addressing officer, Hans Rasmussen, for 1 year. The code enforcement officer, Hans Rasmussen, for 1 year. The plumbing inspector, Hans Rasmussen, for 1 year. The cemetery sexton, Corey Alexander, for 1 year. The assistant sexton, Kevin Merrill, for 1 year. The civil emergency management director, Edward Ketch
Should be one.
Jr. for 1 year. We need to put that in. The public information officer, Jerry Dameron, for 1 year. The BMV agent, motor vehicle, Nicholas Poole, for 1 year. Tax collector, Nicholas Poole, for 1 year. Treasurer, Nicholas Poole, for 1 year. Agent for IF&W, Mary Vogel, for 1 year. Registrar, Mary Vogel, for 1 year. Town clerk, Mary Vogel, for 1 year. Freedom of Information Officer, Mary Vogel, for 1 year. Road Commissioner, Jason Stevens, for 1 year. And Tree Warden, Jason Stevens, for 1 year.
One missing, I delegated, authority to Mary as a dedimus justice. She swore me in as, GA administrator for 1 year. GA administrator.
GA Administrator.
Yes. I couldn't appoint myself.
I move that, or do we need to accept them, or these are just, they're?
I
on
just
record?
report to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's for the record.
And, one I don't see is the health officer, is that an annual?
That's a
appointment?
3-year.
A 3-year, okay.
Yes, yeah, you already appointed me.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
Question. So Laura, on the FOA officer,
Yes,
as a town's records officer, if I had questions, would you want me to address them to her?
yes, yes, yeah, if you have a freedom of access request or question, then you would go directly to Mary
Okay,
as
and
the officer.
just so you know, so I don't have any question about a request for Freedom of Access Act related thing. It's more about how are we electronically storing records and retrieving them? And then there might be some other social media posting things to consider, to archive.
So
Because
you
there might be
might,
some
so
state
you might
laws.
address those to me.
Okay,
Yeah, I
So-
do all our postings for Facebook and much of what goes on our website.
okay, so I'll forward you the framework of what I'm thinking about so that you might consider it, so.
Yeah.
I
If I
just wanted to know
can't
where.
answer, I'll have Mary sit in and we'll put our heads together and get answers.
Okay, right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, the audit request for proposal bids for, I believe we have 2. Lorna, do you want to update us on?
Yes, so, speaking with Mary and Nick, of course, who does most of the work with the current auditor, RKO. Nick was of the mindset, that he is really pleased, with the current auditor. They do great work. What I really like and what he really likes is that they're available throughout the year, so if he has a question, he simply reaches out to them, they're available. They have been doing our audits, I believe for at least 5 years, 3-year contract with a 2-year extension. And there was a question which I sent out to you earlier. One of those was, should we change auditors every 5 years? There's a sense or maybe perception that you would become comfortable with those people, and so maybe things may be overlooked, or maybe they won't catch something But in this case, Nick has only been working with them for 3 years and me for almost 2. I've done 2 audits with them. So there's not that, longevity of the relationship. There's not that 5-year mark yet. However, if that were a concern, we could have them change out the senior auditor, who works with our office and staff. So, if there were ever a question, we would definitely pass the straight face test. There is a cost difference between the 2 proposals. One does not include that support throughout the year. The other one does. So if you look at it in those terms, they would be closer to the same amount. And I did send those figures out to you this afternoon. I had Nick pull some numbers, which you'll see on that email. I do have a copy here too, if anybody wanted to see it, but so the recommendation from staff to the board would be that we keep RKO. Of course, it's up to the board's pleasure.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
So the 3-year contract with a 2-year extension? Possible?
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay,
And there was a question?
Yes, so the question is this for a 3-year contract?
right. With a 2-year extension.
Right,
Yeah.
done in the past, so I just want to say if we're looking at the same thing.
Okay, any discussion of, and we did have a chance earlier today to look through that, so.
16, yeah.
So there's no discussion. Someone talks to me
Yes,
randomly.
I do just want,
Yeah.
is that a 3-year?
Then let me go grab the paperwork.
It's not this one that I got that's bound, is it?
I'm sorry.
It's not this one that's bound.
They may have a copy of the proposal, the RFP in there. If you look at that, I'll check in here for the actual.
No, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it in here.
So that would be.
That was,
We'll see.
Oh,
Mine's all cattywampus, that's why. So what page is that?
Page 18 is the compensation page.
And so I was pointing
So
out,
it looks like mine fell out or something, mine's not bound, so mine was
okay.
just.
Mine's not bad either, and Lorna did it, the way she copied it, that, I guess the document was front and back. Oh, no. However it came out, because the back is blank, there was an extra page. I had the same thing too, so I got rid of all my extra pages.
so on the letter from,
There's a blank page in between each printed page. Yours is the same as mine.
so on the letter from RKO at the bottom of page 1, it talks about the period.
Right.
There's 3 years that they indicated.
3 years with a possible 2-year extension.
So I
Yeah,
think that
that's
helps
my motion.
substantiate.
Yeah,
Did you find it in the?
well, we found in the letter here, they say, it is our understanding that the period covered by this proposal is for the audit for the years ending December 31st, 2024, 31st, 2025, and December 31st, 2026, with a possible 2-year extension.
I think I pulled the old audit RFP and then I simply updated with the current dates going forward.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's my motion.
okay,
So your motion is for 3 years with a possible
3 years
extension?
with a possible extension of 2
Okay.
years if both parties
okay,
agree.
so any more discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes,
Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yeses and 1 absent. Okay. Moving right along.
I should have included the RFP. That's my oversight. I apologize.
Culvert Approaches Road Commissioner, I did not see that.
Did I not include it?
I
didn't see it.
I didn't see it, I just saw the food stuff, and I meant to tell you that earlier, and I did not. I apologize for that.
So we got culvert pricing from KB Cog, and Jason took a look at that. We met and submitted what we thought he would use going forward. And then he got a quote from Contractors Choice LLC, which is out of Windsor. So the Contractor's Choice ran about $10,000 more than what KV Cog offered for pricing. And of course, KV Cog puts it out to bid, and Paris Farmers Union was the low bidder. So if we look at the 12-inch, 15-inch, 18-inch, 24-inch, and 30-inch culverts, these are 20-foot lengths. The total cost is $19,018.40. The quote from the company out of Windsor is $29,624. So about $10,000 more. So the purchase through KB Cog is obviously much less, but it's over the 15,000. Even though we haven't put it out to bid, KB Cog did.
And that's
Paris Farmers Union.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is Jason available for any questions?
I asked him if he would pop in or be on here, but I haven't seen him get on. And he is, making some of the replacement, I don't see any, participants, no. He is replacing some of the culverts, to larger sizes. Because what we have found over the past several months with all of this rain, the culverts that are in place are not handling the amount of water. So, we talked about that at our road committee meeting. So he is replacing with the larger sizes. Yeah.
Paul has a hand up.
Oh, yeah, Paul.
Paul?
Yeah, real quick, for what it's worth, on the record, we've done a lot of business with Paris Union, highly reputable. I can't recommend them enough. So I thought I'd share that with the team.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Paul. It's nice to have firsthand knowledge of.
I have experience in other municipalities as well, utilizing Paris Farmers Union, and they usually do come in the lowest price.
We've
Yeah.
used them local cemetery.
Yeah, they're good to deal with.
Okay,
One quick question, and maybe Jason would know this if you don't. The quotes were for those different culverts, same material? But
Yes, yes,
I'm
and
just so
yeah,
surprising.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But you gotta figure too that KB Cog is, they're getting pricing on a much larger,
yeah,
right, quantity, whereas the other company is just giving us a quote for just Belgrade.
for just
Right,
Belgrade,
right.
yeah. Economies of scale there.
Yep.
Okay.
And Jason said he has this in his budget. It will come right out of the regular budget, but
Love that.
it's more than 15,000, so it needed to come to you all.
Come to the board, okay. All right,
So I would move that we accept the proposal from Paris Farmers Union
okay.
for the culverts as described.
Is there a second?
She said.
Oh, Melanie seconded. Any more discussion? Oh,
No, I just was hoping, I mean, if we had any questions for Jason, it's tricky when there's a department of course, but there's nobody to ask any questions.
all in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. 4 yes, 1 absent. Okay, the next item is our food sovereignty ordinance. Lorna, do you want to do a better job of explaining this than I can?
So I had a resident, contact me, he's present, Mr. Canali, about a food sovereignty ordinance if the town of Belgrade had one, which we do not. MMA does provide some information on this, which I included in your board packet. And this has been updated. You'll see that first page, August 2023. They did do some updates to the law. It also addresses municipal liability. I believe that was a concern of one of our board members when we chatted briefly about this previously. I've also included a sample food sovereignty ordinance, which was updated in 2023. Knowing that we cannot do anything until maybe November, I wanted to bring this information forward because one of our residents had requested it, so it's up to the board if you want to do anything with this, wait, it's entirely up to the board.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm Mike Canali, again, we're in North Belgrade there. Back in February, my wife and I, were looking to, start a home-based business. We signed up for extension courses through UMaine, about food safety and producing food products. And through the courses we were taking, one of the things that they came up with is, all right, if we have canning, you gotta get everything tested, for every recipe you have. So if you make a salsa, if you make a relish, if you make pickles, if you make it, and that's $75 to send up to UMaine or get it tested and get back to you. So these are some of the things we were looking to do. In one of the courses, somebody said, oh, if you're a food sovereign town, you don't have to necessarily go through the testing. You may want to, but in order to sell your products, you can do it at the end of your driveway, set up a little stand or a farm stand, whatever like that, and then be able to sell products to the public and not have to go through, the testing. We're looking to do this down the road. We were hoping to have this done before the season started, in June. And that's why I asked the question about the voting.
Oh, too late to get on the June ballot, yeah.
And whether or not we could get something amended or separate ballot to be able to do that. In towns like Rome, Mount Vernon, Sydney are already food towns, so they've already gone through it. They're part of the groups. Waterville is part of the groups. There's 90 towns in the state that have already become food sovereign municipalities.
So food sovereignty allows anyone in Belgrade to sell any food product directly from their home, like from their door. They cannot, without going through the proper licensing and testing and all of that through the state, they cannot sell anywhere else. They can't go to farmer's market, they can't put it in Christie's store or Day's store. They can't bring it here and sell it to you.
Right.
It has to be sold from their home. It has to be, the people have to come there and pick it up from their home. Can't sell it, deliver it. Has to be done on the premises.
Yeah, basically.
But having a food sovereignty ordinance allows anyone to do that, and it does not appear that there's liability on the part of the town.
That was my
That
question.
was my question.
Yeah, but it allows anybody like, Mike to make something and sell it if they.
We'd like to understand, as we're trying to grow our business, what do people want? Let them taste things, try it out, get back to us, oh, that salsa was way too hot, we don't like that. All right, we won't make it so hot. That relish was great, all right, yeah, we need to grow more beets, we make the relish or whatever. So it's somewhat of in my mind, a proving ground for us to be able to get to the next step. But again, we were looking to hopefully get it done sooner rather than later, and then November to me is, you know, we could probably be licensed and going through getting our home inspection, getting our mobile inspection and things like that by the time November comes around. And, you know, other people in town may be looking at this as well, so.
When you said that you have to send it up to be tested, is that just one time you have a salsa recipe, you send that recipe to be tested? But
From what
not
I
every time you
understand-
make that
From
recipe?
what I understand, yes, because that was my wife's question, it's like, all right, we make salsa this year. And we make salsa next year, do we have to send next year's salsa again up to be tested? It doesn't say yes, it just says, when you make a salsa, we want to test that recipe, and so, again, we're gonna have the same process of how we make it. You know, the vegetables a little different year to year, yes, but, you know, they don't say that we need to do it every year, they just say once.
So you don't have to, and you wouldn't have to test every batch every year, every time you make a batch?
You know, just one batch.
One batch,
They
okay.
want to know that you follow the process, and as long as you're following the process of producing your vegetables, you know, how you prepare them, how you cook them, how long you cook them, how long you can them for, so they want to understand, because you gotta document the whole process to send it up as part of the testing
As part
process.
of the testing.
I've done
Okay.
it. I've done like 20 barbecue sauces,
Okay.
that we used to bottle and sell, and so it is, you have to do the complete process, you have to send the product, up to UMO and they test it. The results are sent to you if it's approved or not, you have to document the pH, the date of the batch, the number of the batch. You have to document everything, temperature, all of that, and keep records. And you have to do that if you get licensed through the state too. But it is quite a process when you start doing, especially like salsas and barbecue sauces and stuff like that. Yes, it's quite involved.
Paul?
Are they required to get a state of Maine seller certificate? And are they required to be insured?
I don't think that's under the
That's not
purview of this ordinance.
Right, that's not part of the food sovereignty ordinance, you're not required.
I would
Again.
assume you'd have to,
We
you
could
would have to
definitely
have
ensure,
something,
no.
but it's not, I don't think, Paul, that it's part of the ordinance because it's not, something that the town would regulate.
Right, and if it's producer to consumer.
Mhm.
Does that,
It's
does
sort
that
of-
make sense?
For
I
nothing
get it, but
else.
is there any
Consumer-
potential risk for the town to get sued in the event they grant this and someone becomes ill?
On that, there's an answer
Right,
to
there's
that
a- yeah.
question from the Maine Municipal Association.
Paul, if you have access to our website, if you can go to the select board tab under government and look at the agenda for tonight's meeting, it has the whole board packet that we're using. And there is information from MMA Legal about municipal liability. I think that would answer all of the questions you might have.
Yeah, I mean, it basically says that the municipality may ultimately be immune from liability, but it doesn't mean that claimants are barred from filing suit. So we might still, if someone does get sick, we still might have to defend ourselves in a lawsuit, defend the town in a lawsuit.
And
Always
that,
have it.
and that's my point.
Yeah.
It's valid.
Right. Any more discussion on? I do know, I think Dan had some insight into this and unfortunately, I mean, he had mentioned it once before.
Yes.
And he's not able to be here because he's in legislature, so, if we're not in a hurry to get onto a June, we can't get onto a June ballot, that, I'm thinking maybe we should table so that Dan at least could, and I don't know how he feels about it, he just had said he was familiar with it. That we could table it until Dan's here, because the earliest we can get it on a ballot is November.
So there's no way to have some sort of supplemental, because I remember one election cycle that we did have two pieces of paper, one was a ballot, and then there was another question that came on late, from what I'm assuming, that we voted on as well.
No, because sometimes there's the state one, the municipal one, the school one, so if we had something that was municipal, but we're bound by state law. Public hearing has to be so many days before to go over the warrant articles that will be on that ballot. So we don't have time to follow the process. Had you had us up a month ago, we've been right on the edge.
Yeah.
February.
Yeah, I only want to add to my comment that I'm all in favor. I think it's a great idea. I think we should be able to do it. All I'm concerned about from a Belgrade citizen is that there's no liability that can come back on the town. Other than that, I think, you know, they're following the American dream. I think it's great.
Okay, is there any other discussion? I think since we're unable, there's no way legally that we can get it on the June ballot and we have time, I would recommend that we table this until our next meeting so that Dan can, weigh in on his thoughts and I have no idea if he's in favor or not in favor, but out of respect for him, where we're not on a time crunch.
Well, and I guess Lorna included a sample food sovereignty ordinance, but is that something that you've seen? Is that something that is this?
If you Google food sovereignty.
It's just a standard, it's just a standard, every town just has its own ordinance.
Each town's ordinance, you know,
Almost all.
there's 90 towns that have passed it already.
Okay, and it's all the same, there's no variation.
Well, they may tweak them town to town, but I'm gonna say it's a boilerplate form.
Okay,
Okay,
I didn't know if you wanted to have any further input, you know, if you, since you're bringing this to our attention, if you wanted to have any further input on this, as far as the language.
You know, again, it looks fairly standard.
He's like, I was hoping to get it on for June.
That's it.
By approaching in February.
Right,
I don't
but
think we done.
my only other recourse is to petition, and then, you know, I think in reading some of the documentation, you have 60 days after I submit a petition to have a vote. So, you know, maybe we have another election or a vote
special
weeks
election.
later afterwards, if we can accommodate
Yeah,
June today.
I mean,
I'm not sure about that process. Because I don't believe that we're under the obligation to expend the monies to hold a special town meeting, which is essentially what you would be requiring. It would be a special town meeting to answer one question. So I don't know that we're under the obligation if a petition is presented to the town that we have to then take that to a vote within 60 days.
I think we need to check with Mary and see, but we could check and let you know, and if that's a possibility. But, there's no way legally we can put it on the June ballot, that June 11th or 9th, whatever that June
I
ballot.
think it's the 11th.
Yeah, I think
That
it's
is a
11th.
Tuesday.
Because tonight was the last night that we
Right.
held a
No,
public
we held
hearing.
the public
That's why we
hearing.
have the public hearing tonight for.
Well, that's why I asked the question, whether or not the
Yeah.
ballot is closed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then I move we table this, since we are not going to jeopardize anything, until our next select board meeting when Dan can be here.
Second.
All in favor, Melanie? Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes,
I'll vote yes, and 4 yeses and 1 no. And I wish there was a way we could accommodate you, but legally we are bound by this. Okay, our next item is fuel pricing bids to review and award. Lorna?
Thank you. Thank you. Hope to
Thank
see
you.
you in
Thank
North
you.
Belgrade. I live out there too, so.
Okay.
We'll look forward.
Okay, so, in your packet, you should have bid results.
We do.
Okay, I didn't forget this. So we have RSU 18 on the top half, on the bottom half, Augusta Fuel. Also gave us some pricing because we've done business with them for some time. Paul lives right here. In fact, he's on Zoom tonight. I do have updated pricing. As you know, fuel pricing changes almost daily, if not daily. Paul did, I did not solicit, but he did forward me today's pricing, which is very similar, 1 or 2 pennies difference, heating oil and diesel from what you have in front of you. So if you look at this pricing, you would likely choose heating oil with Fabian oil, propane with Fabian oil, and off-road diesel with Augusta Fuel because RSU does not bid out for that.
Is that
Now-
the dyed diesel? Is that-
Yes,
okay.
yeah. Now, the caveat to the propane pricing, your sheet, you have $1.42.9. And Augusta Fuel, our pricing is $1.55. So there's a few cents difference.
Is there, can I ask, is there an amount cap?
No.
on RSU 18?
No. We submitted a number of gallons. Nick pulled figures from what we've used last year, last couple of years, got in touch with Corey and Ken and came up with gallons. And we're under no obligation, but it gives them an idea of what municipalities are looking for in terms of the number of gallons. So the caveat with the propane is that at the maintenance garage, we have to have additional tanks.
Correct, but we usually purchase our own tanks, so we are not obligated by to stay in one company, that we can switch from company to company.
So the cost to do that is right around $1,000, I believe. Augusta Fuel will take care of, putting the right tanks in place that we need at no charge. Other companies that Corey checked with were going to charge us between $900 and $1,000.
Okay, so the difference in 3,000 gallons is, I think, $390 if I did it correctly. But we'd have to buy a tank to install.
We would have to pay that between $900 and $1,000. That's why I said there's a caveat to that propane figure, because we would not use enough gallons of propane at the lower price to offset the installation of those
Of the
tanks.
Bruce?
Maybe don't usually charge for tank placement.
I wish Corey was on because he did check.
I do a lot of business with the paving oil, that's the only reason I know.
Paul, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I do. One of the things, I'll pull up some information for you guys. So I did a little research. So right now, the maintenance garage is up to almost 1,350, almost 1,350 gallons of propane. And I'm focusing on propane here for strictly because there's a significant increase. One thing that we didn't mention in here was that in addition to bringing the maintenance ground tank, the maintenance building tank up to code, there's a tank there that's going to be that needs to be relocated to the transfer station. We're going to absorb that at cost. We're not going to charge the town for this. Now,
Oh, can I interrupt you just for a second? Do we have the rest of the information that he's relaying, like tanks moving, what has to go from here to there?
I don't have that.
And I got one question for Paul. too.
I don't have that. And the increase in propane usage at the maintenance garage is because of the new
New furnace, new
new
addition.
furnace.
And
Absolutely.
Paul,
Yes,
Paul, there's also an addition to a new gas unit, of course, at the transfer station, which as long as we have waste oil, we won't use it much, but moving that additional tank to a transfer station, do you feel that's gonna be enough capability? So you guys are not running there every week?
if we have to add a second or third tank, no big deal, I'll do it.
Okay,
And
there's two there now, so if you move the one from the facility to there, that would bring us to 3.
yeah, and that's fine, I don't have an issue with that. The big thing that I want to stress to everyone here is that I'm a resident of the town of Belgrade. I take a lot of pride. It gives me a great deal of honor and pleasure of seeing my trucks, my tanks in the town that I live in. I will always go over, I always have gone over and beyond to accommodate the town. In addition to the heating oil, I will grant the general assistance program the same price for heating oil as we would for the town. I'm not looking, the way that I look at the town, it's my town, I pay taxes here. I'm going to try to do everything that I can for my town to help save the community as much money as we can. We've had a lot of storms this year. We have thousands of accounts in Belgrade. It's my second largest town other than Augusta and Waterville and Winslow. And I can't put into words how much it means for me and my company to be able to help the people of my town. And I will do everything, as I always have, to go over and beyond to help the residents of the town of Belgrade. I support every single business that I can, whether it be Gagne and Son, Hammond Lumber, Christie Store, Sunset Grill, and so on. So,
Oh, send those rates to board members,
Yeah.
because you'll only be calling you, but I won't ask for the same rate.
but at that, the main point that I'm doing, the main point that I'm trying to make here is I'm trying to go over and beyond more than any other company that would. Okay? The amount of money that we it will cost us to take care of bringing the maintenance garage into compliance, moving the extra tank, hooking it up to the transfer station, adding an additional tank if needed, we'll take care of.
Bruce?
Just another question, Paul. Hey, Paul, are we locked at the 3,000 gallons on the propane, or is that just kind of a number that was given,
It's a number that we've estimated based on the last 5 years usage. If you use less, no penalty. If you use more, based on the time of when that expires, if the price is higher, we'll extend the lower price. If the price is lower, we'll give you the lower price.
Yeah, just my only fear is because unfortunately, we had a mild winter and the transfer station and the facility were only on like 2 months, 3 months of the heating season, so I'm just afraid that gallonage is gonna tick up, as long as we can hold at that.
No
dollar.
penalties. There's no penalties if you use more or less.
Okay, that's,
And we can only estimate based on
Right,
what we've
exactly.
used for the past few years. There's no way to really know what the winter will bring,
Right,
if it'll be mild again or not.
so you're
Understood.
basically giving us an
Understood.
upside cap and the downside advantage.
You're covered. The town is covered.
And Paul is super responsive. Whenever I have a question or need figures or anything like that, Paul, well, the other day you surprised me because I emailed you and you popped in almost instantly, remember?
Yeah.
So I have a question. The Augusta Fuel specifies July 1 to June 30. I'm assuming that's the same time frame.
Correct.
So I'm just curious where it says Fabian Oil 30-day.
yeah,
It's
that
the
was my
pri-
question.
The
too.
price is only good for 30 days
But they
to
will,
lock in,
Okay,
because it's
gotcha.
individual.
okay,
Each municipality is an individual contract, so if you were choosing Fabian, you would make that motion vote, and then I would contact Fabian Oil and say, okay, the board voted to approve, right?
Right.
You
So the
was-
price he's giving us, he's only holding 30 days.
Correct, you are
Yeah.
correct.
And that's a good point. I'm gonna add to this is because there's a lot of volatility in the market right now, simply because of what's going on overseas. I would highly recommend and I can't stress that enough, that the board make a decision on this tonight, simply because if in the event there is some action that gets put into place overseas, we are going to see reaction from the stock market.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Understood.
so Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, if they did switch companies, wouldn't Fabian have to do leak checks on all the buildings that have propane?
They would not have to do leak checks, they would have to do gas checks.
Okay, so there would be a charge for that too.
What is that worth?
That usually is what, $150 charge, Paul,
So-
usually?
It's more like, it's more in the vicinity of $200. But what takes place on that is because they are going to be required to do a system evaluation on each appliance at every location that uses propane. And it's definitely, it's in place because of safety reasons, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But they are
Thanks.
required by law or by code to do, whenever there is a transfer in, a
Service.
transition in service, they have to perform an actual gas check, which requires about 30 minutes per location.
Bruce has some notes on the memo.
Okay.
Motion.
Bruce?
so as your plumbing and heating contractor on that, no, I recommend Augusta Fuel.
I'm just gonna do my motion. I make a
Okay,
motion,
Melanie?
I make a motion that we award the contract to Augusta Fuel for heating oil, the amount of 5,600 gallons. And the rate of $3.205, propane 3,000 gallons at a rate of $1.55, dyed diesel 500 gallons at a rate of $3.375.
Okay, is there a second? Oh, Lorna?
So I have updated pricing as of 9 o'clock this morning. If you want to write it down, heating oil.
This is from Augusta
Paul,
Fuel.
yes. Heating oil is 3.185. Propane, 1.55. I think that's the
This is
same.
the,
And then the diesel is 3.36. That's as of 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay, I'll change my motion to reflect those prices.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second to Melanie's motion?
Seconded.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yes, Barbara?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so four yeses. One absent.
Oh, I appreciate you being here to answer questions, because we had some.
Nope, and that's fine. I'm happy to do it. And just for the record, I want to make sure that we add the general assistance for both oil and propane. The only exception to propane is that if the customer is using normally does business with another supplier's tank, and they have another supplier's tank, we cannot legally deliver to that tank.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
So if they're an Augusta Fuel or Dead River account with propane, we can deliver to it.
Most of our requests, Paul, are heating oil or firewood.
Understood, but there have been times in the past where we've gotten a propane emergency delivery
Right.
Yeah.
under you, but in the past.
Right,
You're gonna start seeing more of it, so, because there's more propane units going in and those.
Yeah,
Okay,
we will see that.
okay. All right, thank you, Paul. Thank you for working with us.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so moved and seconded, did we finalize that?
Yes, voted, yep. Thank you,
Okay.
Paul.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
okay, thank you.
All the cool people live on the West Road.
Wait a minute. Some of the cool people living in Belleville.
Okay, other business. Does anyone else have any other business? The only thing I want to bring up on the other business is at our last meeting, we said that we would be sending names to Lorna for the ad hoc short-term rental committee. And one of the questions I have is, there's someone in the area who does a huge amount of rentals, but they are not a Belgrade resident. Is that a problem asking them to serve in the committee? Because I don't want to ask them and then say, oops, can't do it. But they're probably, I think they are known for being one of the biggest rental folks.
So what we do have is an ordinance in place that says if you're gonna be a voting member of the committee that you have.
Can you just talk a little bit louder?
Sorry, one of the things that we have in place is you can't be a voting member of the committee if you're not a resident of the town. So
Okay,
they can certainly be there and.
Serve as an advisor.
Yep,
Okay.
capacity and have input, they just can't vote on anything.
okay. Does anyone in the committee or the committee, the select board have a problem asking someone to be an advisory position? Okay.
I don't.
Okay, again, you don't wanna have to come back and I can get enough egg in my face all by myself. I don't need any help, so, okay, I have 3 or 4 more names that, I will look at, to contact and get to Lorna.
Wonderful.
Because by next meeting, we should have that committee appointed. And
We already
we say
have.
we're gonna do it, and I'm as guilty as the rest. I thought about it like 2 days ago. So,
We already have one member.
Well, and I held on to it, my house, the last couple of the, town publications that we get.
mhm,
So there was something in the, both the newsletter from the municipal that was talking about short-term rentals and that, and also the main townsman. So I held on to both of those at the house thinking, whoever was gonna be from the board on that, then I would give those to you, because there's already some stuff out there about it. And I'd like to see one of the Langettes on that if possible, because they were really the first two to bring that to the board's attention, that they would like to see some sort of.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And, I think it's an important issue, and we don't want to kill the golden goose, and our golden goose is a rental. I mean, that's what made us. So we just need to figure a way
You gotta.
to take care of the outliers.
I mean, cause I'll be upfront and honest, that's my living in this town.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
I
it's
don't
not that
rent,
we don't want
I-
rentals.
I work for the people that do the rentals,
Yeah.
and that's my living.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that. I think it's just the folks that don't respect
Don't respect their
don't
neighbors and the
respect
other.
the neighbors and the property and.
Well, the problem is you got these old rental places that now they have split up and started selling, now they're selling to individuals, well, they may have kept two of them and still renting two of them, while the new people just bought don't like that they have the old renters coming in and week in and week out. I see that all the time, I do over 300 properties in this.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
these lakes, so.
it's the large one that I think, at least I'm hearing complaints on. So we'll just work on it and be very aware that we do not want to build
You
both.
gotta be fair, it's gotta be fair across the
Absolutely.
board, it can't be.
There's no
we're
doubt
gonna
about it.
Cater to this, but not to this, it's
No.
gotta be.
Okay, so if we could work on making sure we get names to Lorna for our next meeting. Okay, do we want to take a break before we get into warrants and
No, let's just get.
everyone?
I
ready
have
to keep going?
grandchildren sitting at my house, I made them
Okay,
promise to stay
all right.
and wait for me.
Okay, warrants.
So I could see them.
Okay, I move we pay, payroll warrant number 40 in the amount of, $21,020.44.
Second,
All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
yes.
I'll vote yes. One absent and two absent. Okay. I move we pay BMV warrant 41 in the amount of $5,340.05.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
yes.
I'll vote yes, two absent. And, I move we pay warrant article, AP warrant article 42 in the amount of $66,012.87.
Second.
Okay, we voted on two without you.
Oh, gosh, we're quick.
Hey, moving right along. So, on the AP warrant, is there anything on here that needed discussion?
I didn't think.
I didn't have
I
anything.
didn't have anything.
No, and then we don't double check on myself and check out whatever.
Okay, if we're all set, all in favor? Millie?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes,
Carol votes yes, so that's 4 yes and 1 absent. And that's all the warrants, correct?
No,
Oh,
BMV warrant 43 and payroll 44 should be on your desk.
Oh, okay, I
Sorry,
haven't gotten that.
Those were
Oh, here
done.
we go.
those
Okay.
were done today.
Okay, I move we pay BMV warrant 43 in the amount of $4,133.06.
Second,
All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
yes.
Barbara?
yes,
I'll vote yes, 4 yeses, 1 absent. And I move we pay payroll warrant number 44 in the amount of $21,158.06.
Second,
All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
yes.
Barbara?
yes.
I'll vote yes, 4 yeses, 1 absent.
I have a question, it has nothing to do with what we voted on necessarily, but just a detail relative to snow plowing contract. I know we had a mild winter. I'm just curious, how much did we not spend?
The payments are the same to the contractor. We do have sand and salt left.
That's,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we didn't have to pay much for fuel escalators.
True. Right? We-
So that was the thing, yes, absolutely right.
Okay, town managers report.
So the waste management contract, was sent off for signature, that was approved at your last meeting. We should have a fully signed agreement on file within a week to 10 days. I did send that off to Pete, his boss was away on vacation, so
Okay.
I'm still waiting for that to come back. Employee reviews are on track to be wrapped up by the end of April. That's a policy in our employee guidelines handbook. The comprehensive plan committee will meet tomorrow afternoon at 5:30 PM. That's covering the matrix for natural resources. Attended the building committee meeting For the fire department, we all met with Sheridan Corp representatives. The CDS grant is due by 6 p.m. on April 24th. I will be working on sections 1 through 3 and 6. The committee will work on section 4, and Sheridan will work on section 5. In addition, Dan McKenzie is working on gathering community support letters. Travis and Corey will be working on gathering photos to support the grant application. And Carol Johnson, with the help of Travis Burton, is working on a PowerPoint presentation to add to the grant package as well. The next meeting of the committee is scheduled for April 17, which is tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Also attended the cemetery committee meeting April 11. The committee has made recommendations for the mower purchases, which is on your agenda for tonight. In addition, they discussed joining the Maine Old Cemetery Association and the benefit of having either Corey or Kevin become licensed for pesticide use in the cemeteries. I did send out information to all committee members on MOCA, the Old Cemetery Association. It's a nominal fee to be a member, $10 a year. They have a lot of information. They also do workshops and do on-site trainings and that sort of thing. It's hard to get them because everybody wants it.
Right.
But it is available. And I did check the pesticide information licensing. I had checked it last year. I think it was when we had the grub problem.
Right.
And actually ordered the study book.
Yes, if I'm not
So Corey does have that, and I couldn't find it when I was looking quickly online, but I want to say that it is a nominal or non-fee for a government agency, a municipality, to have someone licensed. So I thought that was kind of interesting back then, and
Yeah.
so anyway, it would be super helpful. Kevin has agreed to go ahead and study and get the license, and then everyone else could work under him. That would save us a lot.
Yeah.
Legal counsel has the contract with Sheridan for the new fire station building, and will review it next week. So a lot of them seem to be away this week because it's school vacation week, but they do have a special person on staff, much like Bill takes care of us. Ian does employment law. Casey does real estate stuff, but they have another person who will review this contract for the town to make sure everything's good to go. Attended a Sims online seminar. Sims is our cemetery software. Corey and Kevin and I all met in my office, and it was like a 30-minute webinar presentation to kind of review and go over some of the items that they're coming out with, upgrades to the software. So that was kind of interesting. I also visited the cemetery, met with Corey, Wes, and Kevin to see the process that they're going through, trying to verify and update information for Sims. And then went over and checked our Sand Salt building and saw what we had left for product. Less than half, but there's still quite a bit in it. We have leadership training. It's myself, Mary, and I want to say Mrs. Lang Get may be going as well next week. Nick has training tomorrow. Sorry, not Wednesday, Thursday, and Ian and Kelsey had training today. So we've really, everybody's been really diligent about trying to get training that we can. It's definitely already on my list for fiscal year 25, our budget, to increase those line items. With the way the laws and compliance issues are changing, all the time, and Bruce, you must see this quite a bit, and Jeff, you too, as ACO. It's important that we get the training to come up to speed and up to date to ensure compliance for us. So that's what I have for.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mona.
You're welcome.
That's the question.
Any other?
Yes.
Yeah, where are we at? Well, we were, several meetings ago, we were gonna establish a building committee for the Center for All Seasons. And where are we at with that? Just sort of.
I do not know.
10-year plan, 20-year plan.
I think we need to go back and revisit that.
I know Corey's working on, you can quote me if I'm saying this wrong, Lana, but isn't Corey trying to contact the engineering company to come in and overbook that?
Yes, he's tried to reach out, and as you know, it's extremely difficult to get anybody to come and do an
Right.
estimate because they're all so busy. But yes, I believe
Maybe
that
we
he,
should work with, maybe check with Sheridan at this point, we're working.
good idea. I'll make a note of that
So
and
let's
pass that along.
Put that back on. Okay. I just will give you guys this. I asked for, I don't know if you saw this, I asked for the student count. And I meant to pass them out. I just realized, found them in my papers. So this is something just on student count by town. It sort of ties in with what you were looking at.
Yeah.
But anyway, since I have it, I'll give it to you.
Can you let that out to the public so we know what it is?
Yeah.
I can forward that, I'm gonna post all of the handouts from tonight. I thought
And
that
we
would be
could post-
helpful for our
post this
community. And I can make a note to, include
Yeah,
that. He
but
sent
you-
it in email, so.
I'm just trying to, for budgetary stuff,
Yeah.
so.
It's sort of interesting. It's grade level, 4-year-old through the seniors by town, by how many students. And I just thought it was interesting to sort of look and see how many, just for whatever it's worth. So anyway, that's there.
Oh, and I just want to say something, Laura had mentioned, the cemetery. Carol and I did go with Corey and Kevin for, an explanation of the challenges that, Kevin is facing as far as, entering the information, getting the information to enter into Sims. It was very enlightening, so, I think he's happy to do it if, maybe if, Melanie and Peter, you could arrange a time together to go.
I think he did it on a Wednesday because I think Mel, aren't you usually off on Wednesday?
Sometimes I work, sometimes I don't.
So I think that's why he did it on a Wednesday though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Because
he
he
did say
figured
he
you would
would
be
coordinate
off.
to work, to meet with you,
Yes.
with Dan as well, but.
Yeah, and Dan too, like,
Because that
he
was the
could,
KB cog thing, it was a 10 that day.
yeah, and it was, he said he'd be happy to meet right after work or, whatever time is convenient.
Yeah, so, it's very interesting to see what challenges they do have, and the book that they're working off of is just, old paper book, and does have the right information, and people were,
The problem is, we had an area that things weren't done right, unfortunately.
things weren't as organized as they should be. So at least once this is done, but it will take a while because he's verifying every single thing and,
I mean, we found that his lots have been sold 4 times to 4 different families.
there have been some challenges, huh? So, okay,
And maybe in one
That's
of
why
them,
we had to tackle.
yeah.
Yes.
That's why last year we said, let's get a full-time sexton on board and can be doing this stuff.
and one thing Kevin is doing is taking pictures of every headstone and everything that's there. So once he gets it done and verifying on some of them, it's listed in the book that it's a cremation and they have a probe. And they're finding that, oh no, this was a full burial. So it's not only the people and where they are, but this one's gonna be in slot 4, well, they're really in slot 5. So there's just a whole lot
I
of,
mean, we got one right now that he found last week that they're gonna, I think Mike Keno was gonna go up and help verify it with them, but they think it's, somebody got buried this way instead of this way.
And I would be willing to bet we could probably figure the time frame and some of that.
Oh,
stuff
I
out.
I can tell you when that time frame.
oh, here's this Barbara, I have signed it. Okay, if there's nothing else,
Yeah.
before the board,
Fine.
then I move that we, exit our regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor, Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie? Myself? 4, and then I move that we, let's see, first, we move into executive session for state statute 1 MRSA subsection 4, 6E.
405.
Did I say 404? I'm sorry, 405. Yeah, subsection 6, section E.
E, and also.
Good night, all.
6.
Good night. Yes, 6E and 6A. So.
Second,
All in favor, Melanie?
Yes.
214.
Peter?
Yes,
Barbara?
Yes.
Carol? Yes. Okay,
I'm gonna shut the door.
yes.
I already had
We'll
a
need
break.
to
Does
shut the
anybody
door.
else need a break?
Huh?
I already had a break. Does
You had a
anybody
break,
else need
yeah. No, I said, did we want to take a break? And we decided we'd just forge through.
Oh, okay.
So,
And Chair. I make a motion that we re-enter the select board meeting at 10:18 PM.
Second.
Okay. And I will report that no action was taken during the executive session. Then I move we adjourn at 10:18.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Okay.
okay, I'm stopping